Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream, and thank you so much for tuning in for another show. A major operation just took place inside of the Gaza Strip with multiple resistance operations happening following an Israeli attempt to invade new parts inside of the Gaza Strip in what is being called by Israel Operation Gideon's Chariots B or Gideon's Chariots 2. So far, the initial reports about these operations that took place now in recent hours, in the past 2 hours, are talking about 2 soldiers killed, 13 critically injured, and 4 reported missing inside of the Gaza Strip. Now, one thing that is very important to note here, Israeli media officially is not confirming these operations yet. However, it's spreading like wildfire in other Arab media based on statements coming from and reports coming from uncensored Israeli media, online and some other media outlets too inside of Israel. The Israeli media usually does, some of them do not operate in the Israeli Shabbat, what they call, because of the Jewish tradition and religion. They don't operate, some of them, and they don't bring new reports. And there's a lot of censorship coming from the military censorship inside of Israel. But we're talking about the biggest event. If this is true, if this is confirmed later on by Israel, and they're going to have to confirm it, if the operation succeeds, and it's underway still, and I'm going to talk to you all about it, this is going to be the biggest operation that Israel faced since October the 7th, and it's going to be changing the whole equation in relation to the genocide inside of the Gaza Strip. There have been already so many challenges inside of Israel, so many huge splits between the Israeli army and the political leadership. The Israeli chief of staff, he said multiple times that he doesn't want this operation to go ahead. He resisted attempts from the political delegation to go on a very large campaign. He only authorized a smaller campaign, hence the naming Gideon's Chariots 2. Netanyahu and his radical criminals next to him, the wanted war criminal, and the terrorists surrounding him are saying that they want a big operation. They won't stop up until the Palestinian resistance is eliminated. But now this operation is going to be a huge blow for Israel, and it's still underway. Let's begin with some of the reports that have been circulating, and I will get to you on what's happening right now. So, initial reports came from Israel. Like I said, not all Israeli media, some uncensored Israeli media outlets on Telegram, and then some others base them too. A lot of it is happening in the Arab media as well. 4 Israeli soldiers, terrorists missing in Az-Zaytun neighborhood, southeast of Gaza City. Southeast of Gaza City because the Israelis are trying to have certain attempts to go inside of that city to prepare for the operation that they're being very shady about. Now they're saying that they're going to begin the operation next month, mid-next month, the operation will officially begin, but still no clarification about it. And also, there will be no details provided thoroughly what they're exactly going to do. So everything is vague. Oh, we want to deport the population. They're going to have to go out, and we're going to continue up until we eliminate everyone. But there are many problems. Firstly, well, Israel has been in some of these areas up to 7 times before, and they failed miserably. They turned most of the properties into rubble and the buildings. Yet the Palestinian resistance is still having a large attack against them. Large attacks. So far, we heard 3 operations happening in that area, and Israel is trying to have rescue services going on. These were some of the videos that were coming out from the Gaza Strip. These are light bombs that Israel is sending in Gaza after these 3 ambushes. Again, reports that 2 were killed, 13 critically wounded. multiple injured, and also 4 missing. Reports in Israel now are still confirming that the soldiers who were reported missing did not respond to any calls so far. And one of the leaders in Hamas, Izzat al-Rashq, is saying that the resistance is going to impose new equations against Israel. So there's a lot happening right now, and we're still in the initial phases of this operation. But this was some of the footage that came from Gaza. Israel is carrying out an intense bombardment in those areas, alongside light bombs that they're sending over there, throwing to try and find the people, the Israeli soldiers who are missing. 8 helicopters participated in the rescue operation. All of them were targeted. Imagine that. 8 helicopters participated. All of them were targeted by the Palestinian resistance. Of course, that doesn't mean they took all of them down or destroyed all of them, but 8 helicopters were targeted, according to the reports that are coming from inside of the Gaza Strip. Israeli media is saying that the security incident that has happened today in Gaza is one of the most difficult ones, if not the most difficult ones, since the 7th of October. And they still haven't been able to find the missing people. The Israeli helicopters are bombing multiple places, and it's confirmed that they are trying to abduct them. Now, when is this coming? This is coming, of course, before Israel is saying that we want to have a bigger operation inside of the Gaza Strip and what they call Gideon's Chariots 2. And what they're trying to do now, after this operation is beginning, or remnants of this operation are beginning, they're trying to show the Palestinians that they're slowly beginning it without declaration. Now, an interesting thing that's happening so far as well is the fact that the reports that are coming from Gaza are saying that Israel is trying to implement the Hannibal Directive against its own soldiers. Because ever since 2014, after even the deal that they had following the kidnapping in 2006 of Gilad Shalit, when the Palestinian resistance had an operation where they had an attack against an Israeli location, they dragged the Israeli soldier from the tank. One of the Palestinian fighters, one fighter, put him on his shoulder, ran with him for 600 meters, and then captured him to the Gaza Strip. 4 to 5 years later, there was a deal and a prisoner exchange. 1,027 Palestinians were released. So some reports said that it was 1,049. But after that, Israel started to implement the Hannibal Directive against all of them. And the reports that are coming now from Gaza, especially with the intense bombardment, and the Palestinians are reporting that the Palestinian authorities in Gaza and some reporters there are saying that 2 Palestinians were martyred following these intense attacks and non-stop attacks. People are saying that it's not stopping whatsoever. So Israel is continuously bombing all of those areas that have been seeing these operations, and Israel isn't able to find or have any sort of communication with the people who are missing. What is this going to do exactly? And what's going to happen after this? I think, some people might view this as just another operation. No, it's not just another operation. We are talking about a huge operation that will change a lot of things, even when it comes to the prospect of having a larger campaign inside of the Gaza Strip. How? Well, the Israeli side, they're saying that, well, we want an operation. The political, of course, echelon, the political leadership, saying we want this bigger operation called Gideon's Chariots 2, they're naming it, after the army refused the big plan. But the Israeli army, they don't want a large operation. The chief of staff recently made a statement saying that we need to have a deal. There must be a deal. We can't do without a deal in Gaza. And I highly suggest that they don't go ahead with this operation. He previously stated that we will have at least 100 Israelis killed, and that there will be risk for the prisoners of war. And I'll get to prisoners of war in a second, especially following the statements that came from Abu Ubaidah. Therefore, that would put Netanyahu in a very, very big problem. Because now they're saying that we managed to rescue one body of a prisoner of war. Probably try and hide the fact that they're facing this new operation. Although the reports that are coming now are saying that there is even a new operation in a Zaytun neighborhood, southeast of the Gaza city area. And that again, the 4 Israeli IDF terrorists who were captured by the Palestinian resistance still haven't responded to any of the communication attempts from the Israeli army. A lot of developments are happening. All of them are happening all at once, and everything is very intense. Okay. This is coming following a statement coming from Abu Ubaidah, the spokesperson of Al-Qassam brigades. Abu Ubaidah made a statement confirming that they are in peak readiness with this operation that Israel is preparing for inside of Gaza, saying that the enemy's plans to occupy Gaza will be a disaster for its military and political leadership. He confirmed that the enemy's criminal plans will be a disaster and that the enemy army will pay the price in the blood of its soldiers. This will increase the chances of capturing new soldiers. This was a statement released earlier on just by the spokesperson of Al-Qassam brigades. Imagine that. He's saying that they're risking more Israeli soldiers being captured. And now we have reports that 4 have been captured. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, the Palestinian resistance has been trying to kidnap or capture more Israeli terrorists in multiple ambushes. One of them was in Beit Hanun. But what happened in Beit Hanun is the Israeli terror army, they monitored the place, and the Palestinian resistance fighters had to flee. And this operation that just happened with the missing and most likely captured Israeli terrorists, now 4 of them, happened during the night in 4 operations now. We're talking about not 3, now 4, with another one confirmed not long ago. What does that show you? The Palestinian resistance might have advanced night vision. I mean, advanced technology to operate during the night, not just during the day. Most of the kidnapping or capturing operations happen during the day, whether the Gilad Shalit or in Al-Aqsa flood, other operations too. A nighttime operation requires a lot of advanced tech, and clearly the Palestinian resistance possesses some of this technology. Abu Ubaidah continued, our fighters are in a state of high alert, preparedness, and morale. And he said that they will present unique examples of heroism and bravery, and they will teach the invaders hard lessons, God willing. He emphasized that the war criminal Netanyahu and his Nazi ministers had deliberately decided to halve the number of living enemy prisoners and to permanently disappear most of their bodies of their dead prisoners. This is a really dangerous statement, because it could mean that half of them are already lost, so we're talking about 10 instead of 20, or that more of them will be killed. We will protect the enemy's prisoners as much as we can. They will be with our fighters in the areas of combat and confrontation under the same risky living conditions. We will announce the name, photo, and proof of death of every prisoner killed in the aggression. This is the statement that came from Abu Ubaidah, again, planning or warning from new capturing operations inside of the Gaza Strip. And then later on, we have this operation happening with more Israeli soldiers reported captured in Gaza. Now, so far, more reports are coming from Israel that other Israeli helicopters trying to evacuate some of the captured or take some of the wounded and killed Israeli terrorists by this ambush, because so far we heard that 2 were killed, 12 critically wounded, and approximately 9 injured. So in total, we're talking about dozens here. This could probably be the largest ambush after since the beginning of the genocide. I mean, there were instances where there was a whole building with like at least 50 Israeli terrorists inside it being taken down by the Palestinian resistance. But the details of this particular operation, especially if the capturing is confirmed, is going to be devastating for Israel. This is going to be the biggest slap in the face of Benjamin Netanyahu and his genocide army, because all of the plans now to go and occupy Gaza after this are going to be very, very difficult. I mean, to say the least, they're going to be really, really difficult to implement. I mean, Netanyahu already is facing lots of problems trying to convince the people and even his own army in conducting this operation, let alone now with this operation to capture more Israeli terrorists. And all of the information that we're getting now, it's still fresh. So even with the Israeli media, there's still hardly anything being reported, just slight bits of information here and there, talking about, a big operation happening in Gaza. Some of them are not reporting anything whatsoever. Some of the big mainstream media outlets, again, some of this could be due to the fact that some of them don't operate in the Israeli Shabbat or Saturday. However, it's guaranteed that this operation is happening inside of the Gaza Strip. And I'm going to continue talking to you about this, of course, about this operation. But let's move on, and we'll keep monitoring things as and when they happen, to some of the other things that happened in the past 24 hours. So there was another slap happening today, but this slap happened to another person. And that is the leader of the Palestinian Authority and senior delegations from the Palestinian Authority. The United States revoked their visas and they prevented them from attending the upcoming UN General Assembly. The U.S. State Department sent a statement that Secretary Marco Rubio is denying and revoking visas for members of the Palestine Liberation Organization and the Palestinian Authority ahead of the General Assembly, stressing that the Trump administration is clear. It is in our national security interest to hold the Palestine Liberation Organization and the Palestinian Authority accountable for failing to fulfill their commitments and undermining prospects for peace. The U.S. State Department accused the Palestinians of waging legal warfare against Israel by resorting to the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice, and denounced their efforts to obtain what it described as unilateral recognition of a hypothetical Palestinian state. For its part, the Palestinian Authority presidency expressed its regret over the U.S. State Department's decision, stressing that it contradicts international law and the headquarters agreements, calling on the U.S. administration to reconsider and reverse the move. Firstly, look at what happens to people who, well, obey. I mean, the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank obeys Israel and the United States. They don't go outside of their scope. Despite that, the American administration is not happy, revoking the visas because they're conducting legal warfare, as if, the United States or any other European or arrogant Western establishment can dictate what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Legal warfare. Next time they're conducting a diplomatic warfare as if it's illegal or something. It's like both actual warfare and legal warfare and diplomatic warfare, everyone is entitled for them, not just your arrogant faces. But of course, they want to try and plant it in the minds of the people that only us, we're only entitled to conduct warfare, and anyone who challenges us is a terrorist. And now they're trying to portray even the Palestinian Authority. I mean, the Palestinian Authority, its forces get trained by the United States. They cooperate with Israel. They help Israel. They enable Israel in the West Bank. They allowed Israel to expand its squatting establishment from 100,000 squatters to almost 1 million, steal more Palestinian. The other day, they raided Ramallah, imprisoned the governor, arrested the governor, and they embarrassed the governor and wounded 59 people, 60 people. No even hint of resistance coming from the Palestinian Authority of the West Bank. But they're asking the American authorities to reconsider. Oh, no, please invite us. So invite you for what? So you can go and talk in the United Nations, empty words. Well, so for what exactly? Instead of actually doing something which is good for the Palestinian people, what are they doing? Nothing but talk 24/7. Clearly, the United States isn't really interested in having other. But another thing that this clarifies is how far this United States administration goes towards Israel. I mean, Trump is proving to be the most Zionist of the American presidents, by the way, and his administration. For those still fooled by him and his supposed 4 or 5D chess game, he invites a war criminal to the White House, a wanted war criminal. He invites him, he moves his seat. I mean, it was just the only thing that was missing is, him asking Benjamin Netanyahu to open his mouth, right? And for him to feed him some caviar, or some toxic caviar or something in his mouth. Moving his seat, maybe patting his back as if, this holy thing arrived to the United States, and he's banning the Palestinian Authority, despite all of its flaws, by the way, from going and attending the United Nations General Assembly to talk. Why? Because they're conducting legal warfare. Next thing Marco Rubio said, this is called legal terrorism, right? Or diplomatic terrorism. I don't know what they're going to call it. We ran out of terms. Okay. So the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, Israel is planning to have this operation in Gaza to expel the people. They want to expel over 1 million people, again, from the north to the south. And let's hold there for a second. Let's hold there for a second. So they started the genocide. They had multiple names, right, for multiple operations. One of the names of the previous operations that Israel conducted in Gaza, and started actually with fierce brutality and unmatched barbarism, was called the General's Plan, if you recall and have been with us in this journey since the beginning. The General's Plan was a plan blatantly confirming its intent to ethnically cleanse everyone from the north up to what Israel calls the Netzarim corridor in the center. Basically, expel over 1 million people in total to the south, so that they can then expel them further south up until they reach their ultimate goal, which is expel them to Sinai. So, what happened then? They started attacking multiple parts in the utmost northern areas, especially Jabalia, and of course Beit Hanun, Beit Lai, all of these areas. And you know what happened with the hospitals in the Kamal Udwan hospital and how barbaric they were, attacking the hospital, killing patients every single day, and then arresting the hospital director, the hospital manager. What happened after this operation? They planned to ethnically cleanse them, right? And they managed to force hundreds of thousands out, over 500,000. Over 500,000 went, and some of them have been forcibly expelled over 20 times already. And of course, the Israelis lie, because they lie more than they breathe. And they're telling them now, some of their senior figures in their despicable terror army are telling the people, yeah, go down to the Mawasi area, a way overcrowded area that Israel bombarded, still portraying it as a safe haven. They landed 1-ton bombs on tents in that area, killing hundreds in one go before. They've done that multiple times under the excuse of targeted assassination, not targeted assassination, of course. But they're telling them, go there, the place is safe, and there is more than enough space for you, and the IDF will be building tents. Such hyper-pathological liars. What happened with the previous campaign? There was a ceasefire in January. They tried to impose certain conditions in the ceasefire that the Palestinian resistance rejected outright. And the Palestinian resistance in negotiations, they're very fierce. Even the American administration confirmed that. Even some Israelis too. They said there is no deal without the people being allowed to go back to the north. What happened is over 600,000 returned to the north. Despite the destruction, despite all of nothing of being available, they went back to the north, therefore de facto making the general's plan fail. Because if you're an army, and if you are conducting an operation, and if you are sending people to die, what are they going to say and what are they going to think exactly? The people who are still stupid enough to go, depraved enough to go and serve in this terror army, they will tell you, why would I want to go again? Well, we had this progress for X amount of time, and now we failed. We allowed the people to go back. After expelling 500,000, we allowed 500,000 back to the north. Why are you asking me to go back again? Then we started to have more statements coming from Israeli soldiers saying that we are demotivated. We don't have a reason to go to this location because we went there. You told us what we have to do. We did it. And then we withdrew because there was ceasefire agreement and you told us it was necessary. What are we going to do now? You see, and this is why they're failing miserably now. But this failure is going to be multiplied with the capturing or a confirmation of the capturing of 4 new IDF terrorists in Gaza. But the general manager of the Palestinian Health Ministry in Gaza is confirming that Israel is trying every single aspect of genocide and psychological genocide and everything against the Palestinian people, but their plans to force the Gaza residents to leave will fail. Munir al-Barash is saying that they're practicing all forms of genocide in the Gaza Strip, but their plans will fail to achieve their desired objectives inside of the Gaza Strip by forcing the Palestinians to leave those areas. He also said that the people in Gaza, they don't want to leave. And he's saying that despite all of Israel's attempts, they're going to fail. Israel is targeting the Gazan population every single day, and they're exploding 7 to 10 robots every single day. What Israel's doing now, they're sending explosive robots. Look at this tyrannical, dystopian reality. And they will put some of their attack or destroyed tanks or like APCs, they'll flood them in TNT and then explode them in certain areas. Now, he's saying that what the Israelis are trying to do now in Gaza is spread lies and false claims and misleading maps to try and forcibly expel the population from Gaza City and the north and create a new humanitarian disaster. How? With the same excuses that I told you before. Telling the people that we've built tents for you, go to Al-Mawasi area, a very small geographical area next to the sea. And there's already approximately 1 million people there. And Israel is calling this willful migration. Imagine how beautiful, you know. If they want to willfully migrate, no problem. We won't prevent them from willfully migrating you know, after 8 times the equivalent of a nuclear bomb landed on them and their children and their schools and hospitals, and 90% of the buildings destroyed. If you want to leave after that, leave. But look at the resilience of the Palestinian people in Gaza and how they return to these already destroyed areas and now refusing to leave them. They don't even want to leave. And that's what they're confirming now, the officials in the health ministry of Gaza, and likewise the people themselves. Like, for example, the Al Jazeera reporter who was martyred, Anas al-Sharif. Al Jazeera network, they gave him an option to travel to Qatar with his family. He said no. And they said, well, bring your mother, bring your daughter, he said, the only place I'm leaving Gaza to is heaven. Imagine. So this whole operation is simply not going to work. Now, moving back to this operation, and if you're joining us now, again, a huge operation happened in Gaza. Actually, 4 operations in total happened in the southeastern parts of the Gaza Strip, with 12 Israeli terrorists critically wounded, 9 at least wounded, and 4 reported missing, with Israel confirming that they are missing. Israel sent at least 8 evacuation helicopters, launched light bombs on the area to try and find these people, didn't find them, lost communication with them, and couldn't renew the communication. Other reports said that they also implemented or tried to implement the Hannibal Directive. Because again, since over a decade, Israel's been implementing the Hannibal Directive. Kill everyone who they suspect that has been abducted or captured by the Palestinian resistance, including the captors. Everyone. Now, which is the 3rd hour almost into this operation that's happening in Gaza, more reports are coming about face-to-face confrontations in machine guns between Hamas fighters, or it would be, of course, the armed wing, Al-Qassam brigades, and Israeli occupation forces in Az-Zaytun area, again, southeast of Gaza City, where Israel is trying to, again, invade and have this operation. And again, if you haven't been with us since the beginning, these were some of the videos that were being published from Gaza about Israel throwing light bombs and consistently attacking the areas non-stop to try and reach some of its missing terrorists now in Gaza. Because they're saying at least 4 were missing. And of course, they're targeting civilians as well. And at least 2 were wounded. So that's so far, these were the updates that are coming. Of course, the next hours are gonna show, or maybe day or two will confirm everything that happened today. We're most likely gonna hear some confirmations from the Palestinian resistance. Again, this came hours after Abu Ubaidah, the spokesperson of Al-Qassam brigades, threatened with more kidnapping or more capturing of Israeli genocide soldiers, capturing new soldiers, God willing, he said, just hours before. And now we have these reports coming in. And of course, this is going to have a huge impact on everything, on the operation, on Benjamin Netanyahu, on the prospect of continuing this operation, on any chances of having a ceasefire, even if it's like a temporary ceasefire, because so far, even with Benjamin Netanyahu going against the will of the IDF chief of staff and trying to, push for this operation, no matter what, it's really failing miserably. It's failing miserably with him, and you can see the results. That again, if the Palestinian resistance captures new IDF terrorists, imagine the blow, imagine the shock, imagine the response that are coming, that are going to come from Israel. And these were the main things that I wanted to share with you. I'll open the space up for you, have some time for any kind of questions or comments. If anyone has any questions, if you wouldn't mind posting them in the live section box with a red sign for me, and I'll hopefully try and reach as much as possible from your messages. And thank you everyone for tuning in for another live stream. And let me have a look. We have in the chat. Thank you as well, everyone who sent supers, much appreciated. Michael McIntyre, Sohrab, MCFC, and Michael again, Elisa, Warrior, Glenn, Huxley. Thank you very much for your supers, much appreciated. And thanks everyone for participating in the chat. Bantan, I wonder why anyone would want to fight for a system that evokes the Hannibal Directive. It's because, of course, they're brainwashed from the beginning. And also, Israel officially, legally banned this Hannibal Directive thing, but still implements it. Like Israel legally bans other stuff that the Israeli terror army find its way around. For example, executions. Israel executes Palestinians in prison. Israel executes Palestinians in the streets. Israel executes Palestinians in their sleep. They always bypass. And some of the Israelis who served in the army and then later went out and started to criticize how they operate, they described some of the methods that the army uses to bypass these laws. For example, the laws in Israel banning execution. Israel would go and storm a wanted person's house and kill them in their sleep. So legally they can't do that. What would they tell the state? That's if there's a question, because it's a genocidal state anyway. They'll say, "Oh, he opened his eyes. He opened his eyes. We found him to be a threat." Like they find children to be a threat everywhere. So technically, there shouldn't be any Hannibal Directive, but everyone knows it. And everyone knows in the army that it might happen to them. And Nick is saying, have they captured any more IDF? There are reports that 4 are missing in Gaza. Israel with a new operation that came, Israel still says that they could not have other communication with them, and that they are still trying to find them and basically have communication. Don't Tullius Mahmoud, I wanted to ask, the news about Erdogan ending with ties with Israel are true. Well, I posted two images earlier on my community section that you can participate in. One of them was from May 2024, and one of them was from now. The two of them said that Turkey is cutting ties with Israel. Cutting ties with Israel. Okay, how are they cutting ties with Israel? They said over a year ago that we cut ties with Israel. So what kind of other ties are you? Well, so Israel elaborated today. Israel said today that firstly, we did not receive direct confirmation from the Turkish authorities that civilian flights are banned over Israel. An official from Turkey told Reuters earlier on that they did not mean civilian flights, but only military flights. Let me share that link with you, just so that we can, be clear with everything, because it might be confusing for some people. So this was reported today in Reuters. Okay, the Turkish foreign minister saying that we cut ties, forbidding ships using Israeli ports, imposing restrictions on some planes going into Turkish airspace. Then they said, we have totally cut our trade with Israel. We have closed off our ports with Israeli ships, and we're not allowing Turkish vessels to go into Israel's ports. We are not allowing container ships carrying weapons and ammunitions to enter our ports and airplanes to go into our space, without giving detail. However, a Turkish diplomatic source later clarified that Fidan meant Israeli government flights and flights carrying weapons to Israel. The minister's comments referred to official Israeli flights and flights carrying weapons or ammunition to Israel. This does not apply to transit commercial flights. So hold on a second. Did this Turkish official just confirm that Turkey was allowing ammunition to go to Israel? Just a question. So was Turkey allowing arms to go to Israel for the past 2 years, despite all of these statements? Like Egypt was allowing military ships to pass through the Suez Canal? Or what is it exactly? And again, there were other reports and articles in Israel that I'm not going to share here, but there were other reports in Israel that basically they are reiterating what they said before. And by adding this new thing, but with this source, saying that there will be no ammunition, it's almost like they're confirming that they sent ammunition to Israel. And we still haven't spoken about the oil through Azerbaijan and all of that. So, not really clear here. It's not very clear. And again, these were the light bombs that were launched on Gaza before, when Israel was trying to rescue or find its missing terrorists in Gaza that were reportedly captured by the Palestinian resistance fighters. Wingoff Shu, would Israel even publicly say if more of their IOF got captured? Makes you wonder how many more prisoners were captured. They were, or they're going to have to. And I'll tell you why. Because even if they deny as much as possible, and from their perspective, they would want to kill them. They would want to eliminate them in the Hannibal Directive so that they can say that they were killed during the operation, when everyone knows that they killed them through the Hannibal Directive. But if they were still alive, or even if their bodies were captured, even if their bodies were captured, so let's say Israel killed them, the Palestinian side took their body, that's going to be a huge blow. If they're alive, it's even far worse. So that's going to be very problematic. For them, and it also might listen, it might push for an actual deal, because Netanyahu is going to have a lot of problems. Netanyahu is going to have a lot of problems in trying to, sell this to the Israeli public. Nicky, are the UK still sending the spy planes over Gaza? Most likely they are. I mean, the Labour government now is contemplating having a $2 billion arms deal with Elbit Systems. The United Kingdom government is nothing but a genocide supporting government. That has been very clear. Even though they're telling you now we're banning, Israel from one of the arms shows that are coming up, right? They just banned an Israeli delegation. Who cares if you still arm them? Who cares if you still don't blame them of genocide? Who cares if you're not taking any action against them? Who cares if you are participating in their genocide? Britain is a participant of genocide, is a genocidal country. Keir Starmer is a war criminal. It's not just complicity, it's direct participation. And they're being very shady about their involvement inside of the Gaza Strip. This was a recent article published on Declassified. Labour must not award Elbit a $2 billion military deal, because they are contemplating awarding Elbit a $2 billion military deal, despite the fact that they are, being criticized heavily for it. And they're actually working on behalf of Elbit with the police, politically motivated move by the British authorities, outlawing Palestine action, criminalizing the Palestinian resistance. And Israel is fine. And an army committing a genocide is fine. And Netanyahu is fine. And they go and secretly meet with genocide ministers. And so long as there is no clear, action, don't believe anything. They just impose sanctions on Iran. The UK, France, and Britain. The genocide trio of Europe. Imposing sanctions on Iran. You didn't know how to impose sanctions on a country killing 18,000 children? Really? As if it's going to affect Iran, by the way. Now they're talking about removing themselves from the non-proliferation treaty. There was a new move coming from the Iranian parliament to that's it. Get out. Enough of this arrogance and hypocrisy. Violet is saying military uniforms found on ground in Zaytun neighborhood. We hope that that's true. That means they stripped them off. That is, unless Israel chips them, because who knows, this genocidal army. They might put a chip in every, part of their body, unless the Palestinian resistance has some sort of detection, and then they'll cut it off of them or something. But again, if this operation succeeds, it's going to be really big. And thank you everyone for participating in the chat. Cisco sanctions on Iran exactly on products. More financial sanctions. So Trump was talking about more financial sanctions against their oil industry, despite the fact that they already have sanctions in place. They have sanctions on their property sector. Sanctions that will affect every Iranian. So they'll tell you it's sanctions against the regime, right? It's sanctions against every single Iranian. And I don't think it's going to be very effective because Iran has a successful back route and back door. They're still trading with China heavily. Trump told China, don't buy oil from Iran. Don't buy oil. Imagine the arrogance of some of these Western leaders. My goodness, don't buy oil from them. Who are you? China told them, no, you know, you're not going to tell us why. You're not going to tell us what to do. And they increased their spend. So even if they're going to impose more sanctions, now listen, they have other paths, they have other countries to deal with. BRICS countries have a mechanism to support each other more with these sanctions. Plus, these sanctions are Western arrogance. This is what they are. Arrogant Western countries and establishments trying to impose their will on other countries. They think they still live 70, 80 years ago. They still think that the post-World War II order is there. It isn't. It's done. Thoribio, all in all, are you hopeful, brother? I'm always hopeful, brother. But of course, with all of the developments that are happening, and despite the fact that it's bad and it can get worse, it can't go on forever. And listen, the Israeli side, the Zionists, they conduct psychological warfares. And a war on the awareness, a war in the media. That's why they try and silence people. That's why they try and criminalize action against them, total legitimate action against them. That's why they go against the law and try and impose their version of reality on others. All of that is part of a big psychological campaign. So even what happens in Gaza, what has been happening so far, you know, if they could achieve their objectives or their declared objectives in eliminating the Palestinian resistance, and they failed for 2 years, and the resistance is able to even kill one of them, let alone hundreds of them in the past several months, and conduct some of its most advanced and complicated operations that include capturing and multiple attempts to capture more Israeli terrorists. What is that called? Of course, they'll cover everything with a disaster that is against the people, which is, of course, the main concern. But against the Palestinian resistance, it's going to fail miserably. And Aini Anwar, thank you very much for that. And everyone as well participating in the chat. And GL as well. Scott's Hotbox songs and music. Violence is the only language Israel understands. They have proven that. They have proven that ever since they created their fake entity. They don't really, they're not intended to have any sort of peace. They were built to have problems and build chaos, split Africa from Asia, split the Arab world, split the Muslim world, cause frictions, cause problems. A typical colonial entity. This is what the colonialists want. Disaster in areas that they occupied before, so that they can never have any sort of progression. And then they will come up as the saviors, you know. Oh yeah, we want to help you and we wanted this, but you can't do this and that, and you need to listen to us 24/7. Okay, we'll wrap it up there, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in for another live stream. Thank you for everyone who participated in the chat. Thank you for everyone who sent supers, much appreciated. GL, Aini, Michael, Sohrab, MCFC, Elisa, and Glenn. I'll hopefully have a couple of segments for you and other videos in the next 24 hours, either a live stream or a video tomorrow with a continuation from the recent events that took place today. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day, night, or afternoon, depending on where you are. Stay blessed, take care, and I will see you soon in the next video. Peace, everyone. Salam.